Hello, I'm Alpha66 and this is going to be a bit of a strange video because this week as a whole has been about as enjoyable as giving birth to a snare drum. There's been no football to watch, it's been freezing outside, and a couple things have happened in my personal life which I will not talk about on camera. So yes, upon that I just need to scream at something for no reason. So I'm going to make a starting 11 of players who've just really pissed me off. I mean, not that you actually care. We'll be using a 5-3-2 formation for this. Right, let's get into this shambles. Gianluigi Donnarumma. Wow. Yes, England fans worldwide will probably know why. Wembley 2021, Euros final, penalty shootout. He saved Bukayo Saka's crucial penalty and wins Italy the tournament. I mean, I probably shouldn't ridicule him too much, because in all fairness, is it really his fault for just saving the penalty? But still, I've got to acknowledge him, because this is a save that made me spend that night crying tears endlessly into my pillow, and made me just hate anything Italian. Now hold on a sec, I'm gonna go order a pizza. What? Giuliano Belletti, the first person in here who's pissed me off in club football, and again I should probably let him off the hook a little bit because I wasn't even alive for this to happen. But yeah, Paris 2006, the most painful night to be an Arsenal supporter. 18 minutes into a Champions League final, Jens Lehmann gets sent off. I mean, Arsenal already had a difficult task winning the game, now with a man down, even worse. But then Sol Campbell puts us 1-0 up and gives us hope, and then it all falls apart. Samuel Eto'o equalises before Belletti pops up in the second half with a winner to completely ruin what still remains to this day Arsenal's greatest chance at lifting the Champions League. Shkodran Mustafi, the first Arsenal player in the list, and he never deserved that title. Arsenal signed this lad for £30 million back in August 2016. We had been pining for him for months prior, and after about 6 months into his Arsenal career, we were all left with egg in our faces. Deep fried egg, if anything. His first 4 months at Arsenal was solid, but he picked up a hamstring injury in December of that year, came back after a couple of weeks and just looked like the German Igor Stepanovs. Fellow Gunners, anyone remember that Latvian donkey? 4 more years this went on for. 4 more years watching his style of defending dragged straight out of the shining. You could have stuck a decaying tooth in Arsenal's back line and that would have been more effective. Dayot Upamecano. Arsenal nearly signed this man back in 2020 and he's a good defender, I won't deny that, but after 2022, after what this man did, had he been playing for Arsenal, I wouldn't have let him on the flight back to England, let alone back into the training ground. England vs France World Cup 2022 is the match I've grown to despise the most. Whoever the referee was that game, I sincerely hope that you got fired on the spot and sentenced to 9 years laying bricks somewhere in the West Midlands, because this Lord of the Rings style of refereeing was unacceptable. The reason Upamecano makes the list is because in the first half, England were on the attack. Upamecano fouls Bukayo Saka just outside the box. Referee Stevie Wonder doesn't give the blatant foul. 30 seconds later, Aurelien Tchouameni goes and scores and puts France 1-0 up. And then later in the first half, he fouls Harry Kane in the box and gets away with it again. Referee, admit that you shoved 20 Pritt sticks up your nose before the game. Even now, days like this where I'm making this kind of stupid video, it just makes me wish that someone would trap you in a box and dump you into the River Chelmer. Aidan Heaven. You probably have to have a bit of a think before you remember this lad. Aidan Heaven is an okay defender for Man United right now, except he came straight out of Arsenal's academy. This guy was just another Robin van Persie, a proud Arsenal player who forgot all about that as soon as Man United came calling. A bit like how Ireland feels with Jack Grealish and Declan Rice. Well, at least they can take some consolation that Jack Grealish hasn't made the England squad. Heaven, mate, I don't care that you're not a world beater yet. You can't leave Arsenal for a rival club and expect me not to hate you. If this guy had stayed at Arsenal and developed into a fine young English centre-back, I'd have loved that. If either William Saliba or Gabriel were Hale-End graduates, I'd practically drool from the mouth watching them every game. I'd have loved to see Heaven turn into the next Sol Campbell at Arsenal. But nope, Man United it is. And just for that, I really hope he ends up at Mansfield Town in 2 years' time. Alexander Zinchenko. I didn't want to put Zinny in here because I do love him as a player. And he does get a lot of stick from Arsenal fans already. But I needed a left back for this team, sorry Zinny. It's only because of one game in particular where this man's shaky defending really wasn't needed. At home against Aston Villa in 2024, his mistake led to Ollie Watkins' second goal, the goal that essentially ended any hope Arsenal had of winning the Premier League that year. But more on Arsenal's 23-24 season later. Joe Linton. Actually, scratch that, more on Arsenal's 23-24 season right now. Had this bloke been rightly punished for this incident, Arsenal might have kicked on and won the 23-24 Premier League. league. Newcastle at St James's Park in November 2023, 0-0 after about 70 minutes. Then comes the weirdest goal I've ever seen. Jacob Murphy miscues a shot. Joe Willock goes to keep the ball in when it looks like the ball's gone out of play, chips it back into the mixer. Joe Linton pushes Gabriel and sends the ball to Anthony Gordon to finish, and Gordon looked offside. The Willock incident might have been fine. Maybe the ball was kept in, I'm not sure. But never will you convince me that Joe Linton didn't push Gabriel. Because he got away with it, he flicked it onto Gordon, who put it in the net. Another blind referee who cost Arsenal points. But Joe Linton, you really should have kissed the referee's feet after the match. Bruno Guimaraes, the second Newcastle player in a row, and this came in a separate Newcastle-Arsenal game. May 2022, Arsenal needed 3 points to secure Champions League football after the most up and down of seasons. Arsenal hadn't qualified for the Champions League in 6 years. We'd started the 21-22 season losing 3 out of 3 games, scoring no goals and conceding 9, on the verge of just driving into the depths of Cumbria and dumping Mikel Arteta there. But we turned it around, Arteta stayed at the club, and come the penultimate day of the season, we needed a win to secure Champions League qualification. Having just lost the North London derby to Spurs, we were 1-0 down in added time. Guimaraes taps in a second for Newcastle and sentences us to more games in Norway and Switzerland for another season. And what made it worse is that just months earlier, Guimaraes had turned down a move to Arsenal to go to Newcastle. Mikel Oyarzabal, a recent one, 2024 Euros final. Mikel Oyarzabal scores the winner for Spain and wins in the tournament. I mean, it was probably for the best. England weren't beating Denmark or Slovenia in the group stage. The round of 16 game took us till the 94th minute to level the score against a side with Marek Rodak on the bench, and then in the quarters we were taken to penalties against Switzerland. We only won one game that tournament that wasn't in added time or extra time, the opening day game against Serbia. We did not deserve to win that tournament in the slightest. Mario Mandzukic, Jordan Pickford, I love you, but why? Why did you test Mario Mandzukic in the World Cup semi-final? Going back to the World Cup 2018, the first time I really started to watch the England games. We had made it to the semis, and in extra time it was 1-1. Then Jordan Pickford gets into a scuffle with Mario Mandzukic. Moments later he scores the winner. And then, for the first time in my life, I wanted to sit on top of the bridge overlooking a railway line, ready to jump down onto the fast train. Yaya Sanogo. Next, Henry, my arse. Arsenal signed this lad in 2013, hoping he would be the next Thierry Henry. And oh, those words, they still give me chills. He scored 1 goal in 20 games. The biggest embarrassment I've ever seen in an Arsenal shirt. Since he left us in 2017, he's played in France, the Championship, Armenia, the Chinese 3rd tier, and the Brazilian 2nd tier. And he only lasted 3 months at the Brazilian club Amazonas. Again, that was probably for the best. Anyway, that's the end of the video. It was quite a shambolic video, that. But I just needed to yell at something. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, remember to like, subscribe so you don't miss a thing, and I'll see you in the next video.